All right, everyone. So for today, gonna do a little something different today. My Mustang GT, it needs to be ceramic coated. So now the majority of people, when they ceramic coat cars, they take them in and they do the paint correction, they pay for the ceramic coating. More often than not, that can cost upwards of over $1,000 when you combine the cost of the ceramic coating and the paint correction and all that kind of stuff. Well, since my car is still basically brand spanking new, there is not a flaw in the paint, there's not a swirl in the paint. The paint, as of right now, is flawless. So paint correction isn't necessary on my car right now. It just needs to be ceramic coated. But if you're not wanting to spend $800, $700, $1,000 plus to take your car in to get it ceramic coated, you can do it yourself. And let me show you exactly what I mean. So I did a video on this on my GT500. If anybody has been following my channel for a while, I did ceramic coating on my GT500. I did the Armor Shield 9 from Avalon King. It's a do-it-yourself DIY kit. One box here is enough to cover the entire car. I have two boxes. I'm going to do a double layer of ceramic on the GT. But prior to doing that, you have to do this, like, it's a surface prep wash. Gets all the contaminants, any waxes, anything that's on the paint. It strips everything completely off. So you can use this with your foam cannon. I'll show you everything, how to get it done step by step, and how to properly ceramic coat a car. It's not the same process of doing like applying a wax or like a detailer. It's a specific pattern and way to go about to apply the ceramic coating. So we're gonna wash the car out here, hold it inside so it's in the shade. I'm trying to get this done before it gets too hot in the day. We're supposed to hit about 85 to 88 this afternoon. And when you ceramic coat a car, you want to do it when the humidity is relatively low, preferably below like 60%. So I'll walk you through all this. First thing first, as I said, we're gonna wash the car with this. It's a prep shampoo here from Avalon King, and then dry the car off, pull the car in, and then we'll get started on the ceramic coating. So the reason why I like doing it myself is, number one, I've done it before, so I know the steps in the process. And like I said, if your car doesn't need to have a ton of paint correction, if you don't have the tools and the knowledge and the know-how to do that yourself, then yeah, then I would recommend take the car in to get it professionally paint corrected and ceramic coated. PPF also as well, if you want to go that route also as well. But for myself, I don't need to. The Avalon King Armor Shield 9 can last 2 to 3 years. Now, I didn't daily drive the GT500. I drove that only on the weekends. I daily drive this car, so it's a must. And with the heat, storms that come through here, the ceramic coating is a must. So that's why I choose to do it myself. It's because I don't need to do all that extra stuff. Paint's flawless, and I've done this before with the ceramic coating with the Armor Shield 9 from Avalon King. So I'm pretty familiar with the steps in the process, and I can tell you from experience, the stuff works flawlessly. This stuff is awesome. So anyway, let's get started. All right, so there's obviously different ways to go about this. You can just use a bucket. You can pour the recommended amount into a bucket and use a microfiber to, you know, wipe it on and spray it off with the hose. That's one way. Another way is if you have a foam cannon and pressure washer, that is the recommended way. It's quicker, it's faster, it's more effective. All right, if you use the bucket, you do the 2-bucket method. This might seem redundant and obvious, but make sure you have one that's designated for clean water and dirty, which means you wash your mitt off in one, which is where all the dirt and contaminants go into, and then you have a clean bucket where you dip it back in there. Because otherwise, when you're wiping off the car, you stick it in the bucket, you put it back on the paint, that's what scratches the paint and gets the swirls on, and that's obviously what you don't want to have when you're ceramic coating a car especially. So I recommend doing the 2-bucket style of a method. Now, I don't have the grate on the bottom of this. These are just standard buckets I have. You could do the specific kit where you have the grate where it filters all the dirt that are on the mitts down on the bottom, but I don't have that. But still doing the 2-bucket style of a method is obviously a better option. When you're wiping or washing the car, just in general, don't be swirling. Keep in one direction back and forth, whether it's that way or that way. Just don't be swirling. Obviously, that's what can cause spider webs and swirling in your paint, especially if there's dirt or crud or dust on your paint. That's what gets your swirls in your paint. So when washing your wheels, either do your wheels first with a separate bucket altogether, or do them last after you do the paint of the car with a separate mitt. Don't do the same mitt with the wheels. That might seem obvious, but for some people, you know, it might not. So. Okay, so for drying the car, everyone has their own preferences on how they dry the car. You can hop in the car, go down the highway, speeding up and down the freeway. You can air dry it that way. That's the more fun way. Or if you dry it by hand, I just use this microfiber car towel. And this towel can dry off the entire car. All right, she is dry. Now, prior to ceramicing your car, obviously you guys need to make sure that the car is completely dry and there's no dust or anything on the paint, because anything that's on the paint as you ceramic the car will get trapped obviously underneath the paint for however long the ceramic will last in the car. All right, so each bottle of the Armor Shield 9 is enough to cover one entire car, and also plastic pieces too as well. So I'm going to be covering not just all the painted surfaces, I'm going to be doing the plastics parts on the front grille, the front lip, the side skirts, and anything else. I might do the wheels. I haven't quite decided yet, but first things first, obviously, I'll start with the hood. I'll do the front of the car and work my way towards the back. And there's a certain pattern way in which this is applied. So let's bust this out of the box and I'll show you what we got. All right, so right here in this shiny, magnificent bottle is the Armor Shield 9 ceramic coating. You got that. And then you got your applicator pad right here and your microfiber towel. So let's see here. Let's take this out. All right, so they give you a few of these. So all you got to do is see the light here. You have a spongy part. You take it, you wrap it over the top of it, and you kind of hold it like this. And then when you open up this ceramic bottle, I haven't opened it yet, you're just going to be dabbing a little bit over the top of this. All right, so you just get a little bit on here, just enough to saturate it a little bit. It's kind of not sure if you can see that in the light, but you just get enough just to dab on there, make sure it looks all nice and saturated. That's good. That's all you need for now. And then as you apply this, you kind of do it in like a 2-foot or 3-foot section, and you do what's called like a cross-hatch pattern. You start in one section, you go like so, and then like this. So there's nothing that you don't cover. So I'm going to be doing about a 2.5-foot section, one part at a time, like so, like this, called like a crosshatch. Like this. Make sure you get all the corners, everything, like so, like this. Up to about this vent right here is where I'm gonna go. Now, you let it sit, I wanna say anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes-ish, and then the ceramic is gonna give like a rainbow colored effect, and you can already tell it's already starting to, but I'm gonna wait about 2 minutes or so, and once the section you just did kind of shows like an oily, like a rainbow effect, then you buff that section off just like you would if you're spraying on with like a microfiber towel, and they provide you with that right here. So let's let that sit a little bit, and then we'll buff that off. All right, so a few minutes later, now pretty simple, you just buff the section off that you did until you get that rainbow effect gone. Again, try not to do any swirling or anything like that, just buff back and forth. Get all the creases and all the edges. All right, so one thing I can't stress enough, holy crap, look at that, man, it's warm. So one thing I can't stress enough, as you're buffing after you apply the ceramic, make sure you get it all off, because after it cures, if you don't buff off a certain section, it's not gonna come off until the ceramic itself comes off in about 2 to 3 years, or you just completely just buff down the whole thing. But why do you want to go through all of that process? So make sure you get rid of any cloudiness in the paint as you are buffing. Make sure there's no residue, no cloudiness. Once you get that rainbow effect, as I said, that's when you can start buffing, but like make sure all cloudiness, residue is gone, because as soon as that stuff cures, it's going to be a lot harder for that to come up. So as of now, we're almost halfway done. I got the hood done. The whole side of the car here is done. We're going to do the trunk and the rear and just make your way around and do the roof last, and then all the plastic pieces after that. All right, so everyone's probably least favorite of their S550 is the deck lid panel. It doesn't matter how good you clean it. As soon as you clean it, it's dusty, it's dirty. It's literally the first place on your car that will get dirt on it, and it doesn't matter how good you clean it. As soon as you clean it, it's dirty. So ceramic coating this area is a must. Might as well get the taillights too. I'm gonna get the whole car. So. All right, so I'm picking this video up here a few hours later in the afternoon. Got the car completely done. The car just had to sit in the garage for a while because we had a storm pass through, and I just wanted everything to cure and dry. So we got the entire car covered on the exterior with the exception of the wheels. I didn't do any of the wheels yet, but I got the headlights, all the plastic pieces, and the grille, the bottom splitter, all that along the bottom, and everything else in the rear. I got the taillights, obviously, and the spoiler as well. The roof, I didn't do any of the glass yet. I might do the glass, but so one bottle of the Armor Shield 9 from Avalon King can cover an entire car. Now, if you want to do a truck or anything like that, you would just need to do 2 of these, but the entire bottle covers the entire car. You can do the windshield, you can do the wheels. I still have some left. It's not even empty yet. So the reason why I like this so much is because if your paint doesn't need any paint correction, or even if it does, and if you have the tools to do the paint correction yourself, I recommend doing it yourself for a number of reasons. Number one, you could save like $1,000, $1,200, whichever, you know, how much it costs when you factor in the cost of the paint correction and the cost of time and labor and the ceramic coating, whichever option of ceramic you choose to go with. There's nothing wrong with paying to have it professionally done. Now, if you're not skilled and you don't trust yourself, I definitely recommend to take it in. But if you have detailed and clean cars before, you've done wax jobs, to be honest, this is a lot easier and a lot less time consuming than doing a wax on your car. That takes a while. You got to buff on all the wax. You have to let it sit and cure for like half an hour or even longer, and then you got to buff it out, and that process is just a pain in the ass. With the Avalon King, it's super easy. You buff it on, you wait like a minute or two. If it's warm out, you buff it off. You just do small sections at a time, and I'm telling you, You can see it just comes out flawless, and it can last 3 years, if not longer. Now it is kind of overcast, so you can't see a lot of the shine, but obviously you guys know this car shines up perfect, and I couldn't be happier. This isn't the first time I did this also on my GT500. As I said at the start of this, that thing came out flawlessly. Never had any issues with that. So I'm gonna do a bottle of water. I'm gonna pour it on there, and I want to see how the water beads off the paint. All right, so actually it's starting to rain a little bit right now, but let's just pour this on here. It should just bead right off. Look at that. Just beads right off. So this is just one coat. I decided not to do 2 coats because with the Avalon King, see if that just comes right off. That just beads right off the car. So with Avalon King, how it works, there's really no benefit to doing 2 coats of the ceramic. The only benefit is if you had certain sections that you didn't quite hit, it just enhances the chances of if there's any areas that you didn't hit the first time, you just go back over it and it hits it, not a problem. But you can just see this stuff just beads right off. See, I mean, it's already dry. So I couldn't be any happier. This stuff works flawlessly. I've always used, like I said, I've used this before, was happy with it. And in my opinion, I've had other cars that I had ceramic coated professionally, and if you do it right, this stuff can last just as long, and the quality, in my opinion, is top notch, and it works just as good as taking it in and doing it professionally if it's done the right way. All right, so I had to pull the car back here in the garage because it's actually starting to rain here a little bit. If anyone's interested in the Avalon King ceramic coating, I will put a link in the description for anyone that's interested in that. But on that note, if you guys are watching and you're not subscribed, please do me a favor, hit subscribe, drop a like and a comment, and as always, I'll catch you guys next one. See ya.